Thank you. Somewhere in Pokrovsk, eastern Ukraine, a Russian tank is caught returning from a mission on fire. Despite being hit by several drones and being in terrible shape, it keeps moving. Now take a look at this video. What do you see? Doesn't it look like it's from Mad Max? A giant cage, lots of metal, a soldier, and a demoner in front. But do you know what these two videos have in common? You just saw two vehicles that used to be Russian tanks. Now they look like anything but a tank. And they show a brutal reality that's happening in Ukraine right now. Russia has already lost more than 4,000 tanks in this war. Do you know what's destroying most of them? Drones. Not sophisticated missiles, not heavy artillery. $500 drones destroying $2 million tanks. And to counter this new threat, Russia has already tried everything. They put cages on the tanks, added improvised armor, metal barbed wire. Everything you just saw. But none of that was enough. And now? They made a decision that seems crazy. They're literally taking the cannon off the tanks, removing the main weapon. And when you understand the reason, you'll realize that war has changed forever. To grasp the scale of Russia's disaster, I want to show you something impressive from January 2024. Near the city of Novomikhailovka, a Russian force advances confidently. 3 T-72, tanks, 8 armored vehicles, an entire company. But what seemed to be a coordinated attack turned into a massacre. This entire column was annihilated. No landmines, no heavy artillery, no Ukrainian tanks, just drones. Cheap drones flying overhead, picking their targets, one vehicle after another. The Russian column didn't stand a chance. It was taken apart piece by piece from the air. And this is the nightmare that Russia faces every day. You may have the best tank in the world, but when a cheap drone finds its weak spot, you turn into scrap in seconds. The math here is humiliating.
What seemed coordinated turned into something heavy, just flying.
And then came the final admission of failure. They decided to remove the entire turret and turn a combat tank into an armored bus. Each of these modifications is not innovation. They're just trying to salvage what's left. But always a week late, always reacting to the last disaster. But the weirdest part of this story I'm going to show you now. The decision to remove the cannon. After all, why sacrifice the tank's offensive capability? The answer is, well, it exposes another Russian flaw. Russia has thousands of BMP vehicles made to transport troops. They are lighter, faster, with proper rear doors, but they have a fatal problem. They are metal coffins. A BMP-3 has only 43 millimeters of aluminum on the sides. That's like aluminum foil for a drone. Now, consider this. Many of these drones that Ukraine uses, they carry an rocket-propelled grenade warhead capable of penetrating 500 millimeters of steel. When a drone hits a BMP, everything goes up in the air. Now compare that to a T-72. It has 200 millimeters of composite armor in the front and 80 millimeters of steel on the sides. That's 7 times more protection than a BMP. But here's the crucial detail. The T-72 has carried a deadly flaw since the 1970s. Its autoloader. Right below the turret, there's a carousel with 22 rounds and exposed propellant charges. When a drone hits it, those charges explode. The pressure looks for a way out, and the 12-ton turret blows off. The Russians have known about this for 50 years and, well, they never fixed it. So now, desperate, they just removed the problem. No turret, no ammunition, no explosion. When the Ukrainians captured one of these monsters in June 2024, they found 0 ammunition on board. The reactive armor blocks were fake, empty. These tanks had only one helmet. The Taxi Blindado Caro was built for a single purpose, to try to survive long enough to bring soldiers to the front line. How?
As you can already see, this is a captured Russian tank, Mangal, which is almost protected from some first-person view drones. But as you know, it was stopped by first-person view drones, first with a skid, and then finished off by first-person view drones. Now let's see what's here, what can be seen, and what came out. You can see there's almost nothing visible here for the driver mechanic. At the same time, the turret is locked. It's completely without shells. It doesn't shoot. And really, what is there to shoot at here? At the same time, as you can see, the dynamic protection it has is empty, the ammunition is missing, the gun is locked, and the turret is locked. It was simply used as a taxi.
I know that many of you must be wondering now, but does such a bizarre solution actually work? And here's the truth that Russia doesn't want to admit. Look, some survive. Initially, there are videos of turtle tanks being hit multiple times. But Ukraine didn't stop learning, and the response was brutal. The new Ukrainian tactic is simple. Forget heavy armor and attack the tracks, immobilize the tank. After all, a stationary tank is a dead target.
But it was shot down. We shot it down, or rather, we stopped it with a drop. It was hit right on this road wheel, as you can see, the rubber element. So this rubber was knocked off, and then it was stopped. There is some damage. They knocked off the wheel, knocked off the rubber, and stopped the tanks. Later, they finished it from above using a grenade launcher.
Then something came, it seems like a fiction. Drones. They don't carry conventional explosives, though. Termite. To give you an idea, termite burns at 2,700 degrees Celsius and melts steel like butter. When one of those falls on the ceiling, it melts through all those layers of makeshift protection, burning everything inside. And we can't forget about the artillery. Those turtle tanks are heavy and slow, perfect targets. Heavy artillery destroys that metal structure like it was cardboard, turning everything into a fire trap. And there's another big problem that the Russian troops have to face. Getting out of these vehicles is a nightmare. They don't have rear doors like the BMPs. The soldiers have to climb over the top, crossing barbed wire and thorns under enemy fire. Many die trying to evacuate the very vehicle that was supposed to protect them. So yes, some may deliver troops alive, but many turn into metal ovens, deadly traps for the men inside. And you know what makes this even worse? Other countries solved this problem decades ago. Israel in the 1980s, after the Lebanon War in 1982, saw that their M113s were vulnerable in urban combat, so they decided to do something different. Israel had captured hundreds of Soviet T-55 tanks from Arab countries in previous wars. And instead of simply scrapping them, they did some real engineering and converted them into the Exaret. But they did it right, with years of development. They put in a modern American engine, a proper troop compartment, and a rear door with a ramp. 14 tons of composite and reactive armor, specifically designed against anti-tank missiles. 44 tons of real protection with remotely controlled weapons. This is vision, planning, and professional military engineering. Now compare it to Russia's solution. Welders improvising with war scrap. Why do they do this? Everything indicates that they never planned. They were completely caught by surprise. Because even after seeing BMPs being massacred in Chechnya and Georgia, they never changed anything. Until desperation forced them to improvise. As you can see, these tanks, known as Franken tanks, are not signs of smart adaptation. They are symptoms that Russian tactics have failed. The golden age of Russian tanks is over, and it ended disastrously. When teenagers can assemble drones at their kitchen table and destroy decades of military technology. When $500 cancel out $2 million, everything changes. Russia isn't adapting, it's reacting desperately. Always one step behind. And that brings us back to Pokrovsk. Pokrovsk is a strategic city in eastern Ukraine, a very important logistics and transportation hub. Russia has been trying to take this city for months, but without success. But now they seem to be preparing something big. Estimates suggest that about 150,000 Russian troops are gathering in the region. And, along with them, hundreds of those bizarre vehicles you saw at the beginning of the video. Turtle tanks with turretless versions, all covered in improvised metal. It's the first time in months that Russia has assembled such a large armored force. It seems like they were saving these modified vehicles exactly for this moment. A final massive attempt to take Pokrovsk. But the Ukrainians themselves have already managed to get their hands on one of these tanks to study. They know every weakness, every vulnerable spot, every structural flaw, and they're developing specific countermeasures for them. With each passing week, Ukrainian soldiers become deadlier against these armored aberrations. And now comes the final test in Pokrovsk. Let's see if these Russian contraptions can really survive. Now tell me something. Do you think these Russian contraptions will work in Pokrovsk? Leave your opinion in the comments. And if you liked this video, share it with someone who needs to see this. And also, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel to keep up with what's really happening in this war. See you next time.